Herzlich willkommen beim Huber Lifestyle-Kanal. Ich freue mich sehr, dass ihr heute dabei seid. Und ich habe einen ganz besonderen Gast. Und zwar einen Gast, der von weit her gekommen ist und der dieses Land schon zu Fuß durchlaufen hat. Herzlich willkommen, Isaiah Photo aus den USA. Schön, dass du da bist. Und wir werden jetzt gleich in eine andere Sprache wechseln, und zwar von Deutsch in das Englische. All right, Isaiah, very welcome to Liechtenstein.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm also very happy that you're here today. It's a great pleasure for me interviewing you. And well, maybe in the beginning, to our audience, I think it would be quite interesting if you just introduce yourself. Who are you and what do you do for a living?
Yeah, so my name is Isaiah Photo. I have been to Liechtenstein a few times now. This is my third time to Liechtenstein. And the main reason that I've actually come to Liechtenstein in the past was to film YouTube videos, which is what I do full time for a living. So yeah, we were trying to film this kind of goofy video where I walk across a country was our initial idea, and Liechtenstein is only 13 miles long, and so it allowed us to use this title, I Walked Across the Country, and the initial time that we had done it, the first time we did it, was in Crocs. So the title of the video was I Walked Across the Country in Crocs, and as I was walking across the country, I have this deep fascination with watches. I love watches, and of course I noticed downtown both of the Huber stores, and I told my camera people, I was like, I'm gonna have to stop in those watches in those stores as soon as we're done filming this video, which is the first time that I walked into a Huber store. So yeah.
All right. So what was your, you were walking across the country of Liechtenstein in your Crocs, in your blue Crocs. Yes. So I think a lot of people have looked at you. What was your weirdest experience during your walk through the country?
Yeah, I think I don't speak German, as you know, and so I think I was trying to have a few conversations with people along the way, and most often people kind of just looked at me really silly. I was also carrying a camera on a stick, and so it kind of, I stood out in a lot of ways, and I think people were like, what is this guy doing, talking to himself, talking to his camera, and like walking across this country? So I think there was a few personal interactions with individuals who probably live here who were like, what is this guy doing here?
Well, I think there was a challenge to you walking across the country and not knowing the language. Yeah. I think this is a real challenge.
Yeah, and I learned that I was saying hi incorrectly the whole
time.
Well,
maybe you should use a different way of greeting people here in Liechtenstein.
Yeah.
Maybe I can teach you.
Yes, please.
Yeah? All right, because normally here in Liechtenstein, we don't say hello, we don't say guten Tag, we don't say hi, we say hoi.
Hoi.
So maybe next time you're here in Liechtenstein, you could just use that one.
Yeah.
I think everyone will greet you.
Yeah, I'm going to change to the proper way of saying hello.
Yeah. So hoi is
hoi.
That's the key word.
Easy.
Okay?
I got it.
Easy. All right. Okay. So you are from the United States, from Austin. That's what you told me just before. How come that you like Europe so much, and how did you took notice of Liechtenstein?
That's a great question, actually. My friends always ask me, why am I going to Europe to film these videos? Because I'm making YouTube videos. I could certainly just make them in the States, but I think there's a lot of like topics that I think are funny and entertaining that seem to be easier to film here in Europe. So, for example, the walking across the country, if I tried to film that in the United States, that's like over 3,000 miles, and that would take me a very long time to do. So Liechtenstein was the perfect place to do it. But I've also filmed other videos in Europe, like where I've looked for mythical creatures, which sounds as silly as it is, but there are places like Ireland has like leprechauns, or Iceland has elves, Norway has trolls. So there are these different places that I think are really fascinating for my American audience, but also for the European audience. And so it sort of brings both of those worlds together, and kind of like fun things to think about that maybe we haven't thought about since we were kids. I think I grew up thinking about leprechauns and then one day just stopped thinking about them. But then as an adult, I'm like, what if we just went to Ireland and see if we could find a leprechaun? Okay. So there's a lot of ideas like that, I think, that are really fun to explore.
Did you find one?
We did not find a leprechaun.
Okay. So they're not
I wish that I had, but I did not find a leprechaun.
So obviously they're not existing, yeah?
Well, maybe it depends on who you ask.
All right, okay, all right. You also told me that you love running,
Correct.
this is actually why you do the videos for YouTube.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I do love to run. It has become an all-consuming hobby, as I said before. And we actually most recently filmed a video where I had ran from, there was a pass in Italy that sort of took me through Switzerland and then through Liechtenstein into Austria. And so I was able to cover like 4 countries in only 15 hours. So those kind of videos are really fun. Yeah, it allows me to incorporate kind of what I love to do in running into my actual job, which is making the videos. So,
so how did you feel after that very long run?
I wanted to pass out. I did not want to do anything else.
Yeah. All right. But you also said that after that run, you went for a walk to another country.
So,
right?
Yeah, so because I live in the States and we're going to be filming videos in Europe, we try to batch shoot videos. So if I come to Europe for a week, we try to shoot 2 or 3 videos at a time. And we mistakenly decided to shoot 2 really intense videos back to back. So we filmed that one, which was 72 miles of running, and then immediately got on a plane and 2 days later filmed another video where I walked across the country of Andorra with no shoes on. And so that country is about 26 miles long. All right. So yeah, it was not fun, I'll say that.
So how long did that take you?
I don't remember.
Walking across Andorra?
I think that one took me like the better part of the day. It must have been like, I don't know, 12 hours maybe.
12 hours.
Yeah, it took a long time.
And so how long did it take to walk across Liechtenstein?
Liechtenstein, I think I was racing Google Maps was the whole premise of the video. I think I did it in under 4 hours.
Oh, that's good.
But I was wearing Crocs.
Yeah, of course.
And they're pretty fast shoes. So.
Right. Okay, they are fast. All right. Well, I think you also brought some, because you like watches. That's also what you told me. And you also purchased one watch at Huber.
That's correct.
So how did you, actually, before we go over to you or make the bridge to your watches, because you brought some watches. How was the experience purchasing a watch at Huber? How did you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible experience. So I don't think at the time when I walked into Huber that I looked like the ideal watch customer. I was wearing the watch that I'm wearing today, which is an AP Royal Oak, but when I walked in, I was wearing kind of a tattered like t-shirt, shorts, and like long socks and Crocs. So it didn't look like the guy that should be purchasing a Rolex or a Patek or anything like that. And I remember I was talking to an associate, her name is Nina, and she was very kind. She was showing me some watches, and I sort of pressed her. I said, I'd really love to buy an Explorer or an Explorer 2 today, or even better, I'd love to buy a GMT. And she just said, it's not possible, and rightfully so. I mean, I was wearing blue Crocs in your beautiful store, and then we ended up going for a walkabout, and Nina had asked if we wanted to come back in and presented some watches to us, and that's when I was able to buy my first Rolex from Huber. So yeah, it was a pretty funny experience. Definitely, as I was walking in and I was with my friends, I was like, "There's no way that I'm going to get a watch today, looking like this."
I've watched your video, and you didn't buy that watch for yourself.
Correct.
You bought it as a gift.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So who did you give it to?
So my wife, who doesn't understand my obsession with watches as much as I love them, we were 2 months prior. We were in Florida, and we were walking, through a watch store, and she had seen the Explorer, and for the first time of all the watches I've showed her, and I've showed her, countless watches. I've asked, do you like this watch? And for the first time, she said, I think I'd wear that watch. And we tried it on. I said, really, you'd buy this one? And she said, yeah, I think I'd wear that watch. And so I was able to purchase the 36mm Explorer for my wife.
Great. So she loves it.
She does. Yeah, she wears it all the time.
She's
very afraid to beat it up. And I said, no, you're supposed to wear it every day. That watch went, to the top of the highest peak in the world. You got to wear that watch every day. So, yeah.
Good. Perfect. So you're obsessed with watches. You're a watch addict. So you also brought some watches with you. So can we show our audience what your favorite watches are?
Yeah, absolutely.
We also have a nice Huber tray, so we can
beautiful.
place the watches on here so we don't make any scratches. All right.
Love it.
Okay, well, you're wearing a very nice watch. What is it?
Yeah, so this is actually my favorite watch. It definitely gets the most wrist time of any of my other watches, and this is an Audemars Piguet 15510 Royal Oak. So last year, I had the opportunity to go to the AP Founders House and have some discussions with the then CEO, Francois, and I had expressed my interest in owning a Royal Oak, knowing full well that, you know, this would take years to actually be allocated. And he said, oh, I'm sure you'll get one someday. And the conversation kind of ended, and then 2 hours later, I got a text message and said, would you be interested in purchasing this watch? So very special opportunity. I had my wife and my newborn baby was with me, and we were, you know, in this beautiful valley in Les Brassus, if you've ever been. And yeah, it just was the perfect time to buy a dream watch. So this one is definitely the one that I think about the most.
Absolutely. It's a very beautiful watch. And also the designer, Gerald Chanta, he has designed this watch and other, some others. So well, very, very nice.
Yeah, he has definitely has a good collection of watches that he's designed.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what else have you brought?
So I brought here 3 of the other watches that are most worn in my house. One of them is actually my wife's watch, which I'll get to, but I do steal it from time to time and wear it myself. Thankfully, there's the clasp lends itself to being a little bit bigger sometimes.
All right.
But I'll start here with actually my first mechanical watch that I've purchased, and it was in an effort to build a relationship with my local AD in Austin, Texas, as well as I've always just loved the Omega Speedmaster. So this was the first mechanical watch that I purchased, and one of the reasons that I love this watch so much is the history behind it. I'm not super fluent in all the history of all the watches, but this one stands out to me because you know, because the U.S. was the first country to get to the moon, and this was the first watch on the moon. Yeah. So I think that's pretty cool, and it's always just such an attractive watch on the wrist too. It's just so easy to wear with anything, and I just love that. So
and the astronauts were wearing a Swiss watch on their wrists.
That's right.
So
yeah, so Switzerland was there too.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
I love it.
It's also a very nice timepiece. You know,
Yeah.
the also black color. So this is very classic.
Yeah.
Also typeless. So
Yeah.
you can wear it for many years.
And something that I think is kind of goofy, but I really love about it is actually the functionality of the, you know, the stop, the actual timers on the watch. Sometimes I'll be in the kitchen, I'll be cooking something, and actually just use the watch in a real tool way, which is kind of fun. But yeah. Yep. Love this watch.
Yeah, beautiful.
The next
so what else
one,
do you have?
The next one here is my wife's watch that I, from time to time, actually take on the road. Actually, last time we were in Liechtenstein, I let my my videographer wear this watch. My wife was like, "Where'd my watch go?" But this is the watch that I purchased right here in Liechtenstein.
So this is a real relationship with us.
Yes. Yeah. So. Yeah, it was just such a wonderful experience. It was everything that I was hoping it would be, and definitely didn't anticipate it happening. I've been in Rolex stores all over the world, Tokyo, all over Europe, all over the US, and I've never been offered a watch, and especially not on like my first entrance into a store. But I walked into the Huber store down the road from here, and Nina was there, the associate that helped me, and she was kind enough to offer me this watch. And my wife had recently told me that she liked this watch, and so it was the perfect opportunity to gift my wife her dream watch, and of course for me to occasionally steal it because it does get a little bit bigger with the extendable clasp a little bit. So yeah. Love this one. Yeah.
So
easy to wear anytime.
You were at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, felt that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Very lucky. You know, one of those very few people who are lucky to walk into a Rolex dealer and get a watch.
Yeah, and it's funny because 2 of these watches were that way, where it was like, how did this happen? Yeah. It just right place, right time, which sounds somewhat unfair, right? If you're not that optimistic, you might be, well, that's not fair, but you just have to keep dreaming and keep thinking maybe tomorrow will be my day, and maybe it will be. And then this is the last watch that I brought with. This is my most recent purchase, actually. I bought this watch earlier this year. I've always loved the GMT Master from Rolex, and I found this one on a vintage website. It has a nice tropical dial. The lume is a little bit orange, and there's this speckle that kind of looks like constellations in the right light on the face of the watch. But the main reason that I wanted to buy the GMT is because when I first got into watches, I kind of grew up with a mother who wore a lot of watches, but she wore a lot of cheap watches, and she loves cheap watches. She buys a lot of fossil watches, and so I grew up wearing a lot of fossil watches, and she loves that style of watch and is totally fine with getting a beater watch and doesn't care at all. But I remember I was on a road trip with my dad, and I was at a business meeting with him, and I saw a gentleman wearing a blue and red Rolex, and I thought to myself, that is the kind of watch that a successful businessman wears. And of course I was like very young, but ever since then it's been sort of stuck in my mind. And my wife and I were in Carmel in California, and we were walking through a vintage store. This is like maybe 5-6 years ago, and I saw that watch again, and it was a vintage GMT, and I thought, man, one day I want to own that watch. And now with the success of my YouTube channel and business, and being able to make more money than I thought I was able to, and be able to afford the watches that I want, the opportunity finally presented itself with the perfect watch. And yeah, I love this watch. It's such a fun watch, and I love the history behind the GMT Master, as well as the way that this one just aged so differently than I've seen in other GMTs.
It really does, yeah. Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is wonderful. Oh, this is a great collection you have here for beautiful timepieces, beautiful watches. You can be very proud of them. This is you have to stick onto it. This is you really have to keep them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the way that I like to buy watches, at least up to this point, is just for me to wear. Like, I love wearing a watch. Okay. And so I know some people buy watches to collect them, and for me, it's, if I buy a watch, I want to wear it, I want to enjoy it, I want to see it, I want to beat it up. I think the first scratch on my Royal Oak was devastating, but now there are countless scratches on it, and it's it's fun. So.
I think it's good that you wear the watches every day. It's for everyday use, so this is important. And also our customers, most of them, they wear every day. So this is also my watches I wear every day, and I enjoy wearing them. So I think this is the point.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Now we see 4 beautiful watches here. Is there any watch you still have in mind for any? Do you dream of any of your future purchases?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Really?
I have a few.
May the audience know that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
So one of them that I'm desperately wanting to get is a Patek Philippe Aquanaut. I do love all of Gerald Genta's designs, and and I love the Aquanaut. Is just such a beautiful watch. I love the way that just the way that it wears on the wrist is so beautiful. I also would like to get a more modern GMT. The Pepsi was always the one that I was drawn to. So those are probably my top 2 that I'm most interested in.
Well, keep fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed to be at the right place at the right time.
All right. Well, we all hope so. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Isaiah, it was so interesting having you here and you telling about your favorite watches. It was very interesting, the stories. Hopefully we can meet again. I'm sure there's a lot of running in the future.
There is.
All the best for your YouTube channel, and hope our roads will cross again.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Ja, liebe Zuseher, das war's beim Huber Lifestyle Talk mit Isaiah Photo, einem Gast aus den USA. Und wenn es euch gefallen hat, dann bitte die Daumen hoch, und ihr könnt auch gerne die Kommentare hinterlassen. Alles Gute und bis bald. See you. Bye bye.